So the first instruction in Tai Chi, mind in Dan Chen. The second instruction in Tai Chi, sink and relax. And then the third instruction is turn the waist, but we'll get into that. So now we're just centering here. Yeah, so just feel when you've got your legs spread like this, you have to have a bit of tension here just to hold yourself together. Okay, so just imagine you are sort of to pick up an object. Yeah. So let's say I pick up this chair. So there's this stool. So I'm just going to, so I pick it up, my arms are straight as I pick it up, and then my arms naturally bend to actually bring it in towards me. Now, we want to use the legs in the same way. So instead of using our legs to push us away from the ground so that we can hover around up here, we want to use the legs to actually just pull ourselves down to the ground. So we're bending the legs to actually hug the ground. Yeah, so this is all part of getting into the Dan Chen, and of course the sinking and relaxing. And so the legs just have to be strong enough to hug the ground. Now, the thing about hugging is that the legs are actually quite active. They're not simply being bent by my weight bearing down on them. They're actually actively trying to pull me down, or they're actually trying to pull the ground up. Yeah? So my legs are trying to pull the ground up, but because the ground doesn't move, they end up pulling me down. So this is like the other side. There's always two sides to the coin. Yeah? It's that beautiful phrase of Spinoza. You know, he said, it doesn't matter how thinly you slice it, there's always two sides. Yeah? And so, in one sense, we're being pulled down by gravity. So that's like the passive relaxation part. Yeah, so gravity will actually pull me down if I just stop resisting it. Now, there's also an active part, which is just me pulling at the ground, me actively bending my legs. So I bend this leg, I bend this leg, I bend, yeah. And so my knee is actually going out, this space is widening, and it's that that's actually moving me from leg to leg rather than the other leg pushing. So pull and pull. And pull, and pull. Yeah, so my knees are very active. My knees are trying to pull up. I just imagine I have my feet glued to the ground. And so when you move from leg to leg, there's a look of it swooping under. But it's not really, you're not really going up under the ground, you're just pulling with this knee, and that just drags you like this. So here, this knee is coming up, and I'm getting dragged down into it like this. Yeah? And then this knee is coming up, and I'm going. So basically, our legs just have to be strong enough so that we can work like this. Now, what's important about it is how it activates the spirit. So there's something about being passive that is actually bad for the spirit, and something about being active which just activates the spirit and so exercises it. So in one sense, I'm heavy and I'm just moving from leg to leg. But you can see if that's all I did, I'd quite quickly get depressed. Yeah? It would just be this heavy lumpen feeling. So it needs to have this active quality to actually balance that. Yeah? So the spirit is lively. So the spirit is light, but the body is heavy. This is what they say. Yeah? And wow. Okay, now let's just lean into the leg again. So just pumping it a bit. Yeah, so just be heavy now. And just work from the front of the foot a bit. So just let your heel come off the ground. And just pump it until this muscle really starts protesting. Yeah? And then just move across. And again. Yeah. So we're working the legs, but we're trying to get a little bit of pliability, a little bit of resilience, this feeling that it can return the energy, it can bounce back. So we need this bouncy quality. And the bounce tends to come from the front of the foot rather than the heel. The root is actually through the heel, but the actual bounce back is from the front of the foot. Yeah? So if you just bring your heel up here a little bit, then you're just working the foot more. So the spring is in the foot. It's not in the bones. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here. And 4. Yeah, the best thing would be to have someone with you doing it for you. Yeah, so the way I work with my students, I get them into this sort of stance, and then I will stand here with my hands, and I'll just push them into their leg. Yeah? Because what we're looking for all the time is that our responses are not ones that we choose, they're ones that have to happen. So you get the student into like a tight corner, and then just pressure them and see what comes out. Yeah? So when they're at the point where they're going to fall over, then that's when you tend to get something of spirit coming out. Yeah? And so just pushing here. That's it. And one more this side. So just over. And one more this side. Okay, and then just back to here. Let's just feel that heaviness. It's like your body's made out of wax and it's melting, so it's dripping. Yeah, so this is one reality. So the reality of gravity pulling a relaxed body. And then the other reality we were working with was this feeling of the foot pulling the ground. Yeah. Now, what's difficult is to actually have both of these realities happening at the same time quite happily, because of our culture, we tend to have minds that pick and choose. So we tend to have minds that want to say, yes, this is right and that's wrong. So what we have to develop is the ability to actually house these two worlds at the same time. So in one sense, I'm dripping down passively, and in another sense, I'm plucking the ground actively. And both of these are there. And they end up nourishing each other and balancing each other. So one tends not to become dominant because the other one is always there to pull it back. So it's very much yin and yang. So one and two. Okay. And now let's just bounce it now. That's it. Yeah, so the legs are pushing in, so the legs are just sending energy up like that. So the legs are pushing this in, but the weight of your upper body and spine is pushing that out. So again, there's this dynamic equilibrium between the forces from the ground and the forces from your mass splitting down your legs. Okay, now let's just tap the belly. Now just pulling in and pushing out. Pulling in, out, in, out, in. So pushing out, strong, bouncing back, pulling in, strong, bouncing out, pushing out, strong, pulling in, strong, bouncing out, in, out. So we want to feel that bounce. It bounces back and it bounces back out. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1. Right. Okay. Now let's just try breathing. So I want to breathe into here, into here, into here. Okay, so there's 3 in-breaths. So I breathe into my belly. I breathe into my chest. And then I pull the breath up into my head. And then I slowly let the breath descend through my body. So it's chi. So breathing into the belly, breathing into the heart, breathing into the head, and slowly out until you're down here. Breathing into the belly. So the belly is tightening to pull into itself. Breathing into the chest. The chest is expanding to fill up. Breathing into the head. The head is contracting, if anything, to suck the energy up there. And then slowly you just relax it and just let it slowly descend through the body. So that's the out breath. So there's 3 in breaths, into the belly, into the chest, into the head, and then a slow out breath. And again, belly, chest, head, and then slowly out. And again, belly, chest, head, and down. Yeah. So feel that when you breathe into the belly to start with, and you contract it a bit, it just introduces strength here, which then supports the other 2. So breathing into the belly, chest. So without that strength in the lower back here, this would hurt. Yeah? And then up into the head. And then just slowly there. And breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, and breathing out. And 1 more, breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, and out. Right. Okay, so let's just sit down and we'll just do a bit of so just breathing. So we'll just breathe normally. So when you're breathing normally, the feeling is that you're breathing sort of in this range. Yeah? So you just breathe in and breathe out. Okay, so let's just use the hands. So breathing in and then just breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and out. In and out. In and out. In and out. in, and out, in, 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 and out. Okay, now what we want to look at now is like belly breathing. So I'll show you. What we do, we just do one of those, so breathing in and breathing out. And then I use these muscles here to actually, so it's like when you breathe out, there's still quite a lot of air inside the lungs. And so what we then do is use a squeeze here to squeeze more air out of the lungs. And then I just release this and it will suck air back in, but only as much as I've squeezed out with the belly. So I'm not using this breathing at all. I'm not using my normal breathing. I'm just breathing with the belly. And it feels weird because it feels like you're not taking a breath. So it feels like you're gonna, you know, it's a bit panicky because it feels like you're gonna lose your breath, yeah. So let's just try it. So just breathe in normally. So breathing in, and then just breathe out. So where, you know, how would you be when you breathed out? And now just pull the belly in and breathe out even more. Push the air out. And then relax and let the air come back in, but only as far as it was before you pull the belly in. Yeah, and then you pull the belly in again to squeeze the air out, and then back, relax. Yeah, so it's like shallow breathing, but it's actually shallow breathing at the bottom. So we'll get into the shallow breathing at the top, which is the head breathing. But we just want to get a handle on this. So basically, there's our basic breathing range, which is just breathing in and breathing out. But we have a lot of capacity at the end that we actually need to use the belly for to squeeze out. And we also have a lot of capacity at the top, which we really need to expand here and here to use that. But we'll just do this again here. So just breathe a couple of times normal. Yeah, so just in and out, in and out. And now just pull the belly in and then relax. Pull the belly in, relax. Pull the belly in, relax, pull the belly in, relax, and then back into the normal breathing. Yeah, so it should be quite a relief to go back into this. Yeah. So just breathing in and breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, and now again pulling the belly in, squeezing all the air out, and then just relax the belly. Some air comes back in, but then you squeeze it out again. In, squeezing it out. In, squeezing it out. In, squeezing it out. In, out. In, out, in, out, in, and then the diaphragm again. Yeah, so the normal breathing is with the diaphragm. So here the diaphragm is dropping down to pull the air in, and here it's squeezing back up. So what we're practicing now is using the belly muscles to actually deepen the breath on the extreme out breath. So breathe out and now squeeze squeeze even more air out, and then just relax, but then out again. Relax, out again, relax, out again, relax, out again, relax, out again, relax, out, out. And now just the normal breathing again. Okay, now we'll just work at the top. So breathe in, and now breathe in more. And now breathe out that extra, and breathe in. Out, 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 and now all the way out to our normal, and then just back to here. Okay. So you can see there's this middle range, and then either end of the middle range, there's this extra capacity. And it's those two extra capacities that we want to make bouncy. Yeah. So here I just breathe in as much as I normally do, and then I just breathe in even more. And then I just let that extra out, and then I breathe it in again. Let it out. Breathe it in again. Out. Breathe it in again. Out. Breathe it in again. Out. In. Out. And now back to here. 1 and 2 and 3. That's good. And now let's do the bottom one. So out. In a bit. Out. In a bit. Out. In a bit. Out. In a bit. That's great. In. And now back to here. Yeah. So this is like coming back to normality. Yeah. And so when we're breathing like this, it's very much, we're making decisions about when we start one phase. And it's basically those decisions are just based on habit and on comfort. So what we're trying to do now is just push it out of that comfort zone into somewhere a little bit more intense. Yeah. Okay, now let's try it with the arm movements. So remember, let's try this one, just the normal one, but with this. Yeah. So breathing in and let it out. Breathing in and let it out. Breathing in and let it out. Breathe it in and let it out. And now breathing in. And now we'll work on the top range. So breathing in more and breathing out a bit. Breathing in more, out a bit, in more, out a little bit, in more, out a little bit, in more, a little bit, in more, and out, and now all the way out, and then just in comfortably, out, and in, out, and in, and then out, and now out even more by pulling the belly in, and then in a bit, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, and then in again, in within our comfortable range, out a little bit, out, in. Yeah, so this is our normal range. So we've just appended two extras, if you like. And what's important about those extras is that you have to bounce out. It's not like a decision you make. The reason you come back is because you can't go any further. Yeah. So here you breathe in. So sorry. Here breathing in and breathing in again. And it can't go any further, so it has to bounce back down. And then I breathe in again. And it can't go any further, so it has to come down. And again. And down. And then forwards. Yeah, just let it normalize again. So breathing out, and then really breathing out. And breathing in just a bit. Breathing out. Breathing in just a bit. Out. In just a bit. Out. In just a bit. And then just in normally. And out normally. In normally. Out normally. In normally. And now in a bit more. And out that extra, and now that extra back in, out, in, out, in, out, and now just normal, out, all the way, and in, out, in, out, and all the way out. Okay, so now let's just try just 1, 2, 3, and then slowly out, doing with these 3 different phases. Yeah. So first of all, we need to let everything out. So first we need to pull the belly right in, expel everything out of your lungs, and then in. This is like the base, and then in even more, and then this extra here. Let the extra out, and then let all your normal air out, and then squeeze everything out. Let that extra back in, and now breathe in with the diaphragm. And now using the rib cage really to pull it right up into the upper chest, the throat, and the head. So let that out, and then using the diaphragm, and then pulling the belly in, letting the belly out. So letting the belly out, and then using the diaphragm. And then using the upper chest and the throat. Out. And now letting the normal air out. And then letting everything out. And then just back to here. It's great. Does that feel okay? Yeah. So it's a bit strange. Okay, so let's stand up again. So again, let's just bounce it. Okay, now just keeping the arms how they are, just turn towards the one arm. That's it. And then back to the front. And then just turn towards the other arm. And back to the front. So you're trying not to move the arms, just to turn your hips. So turning to. So you're looking down the arm into the hand. And then back to the front. And then down this arm. Yeah. So from when you're in the middle, you're symmetrical, obviously. So both hands feel pretty much the same. Now as you turn towards one hand, that hand now receives all your attention. So what you want to feel now is the difference between the two hands. How the hand that you're looking at is very much controlled by your consciousness of it. Whereas the hand behind you has like an immediacy and a presence that comes from not being locked up by a conscious awareness. Yeah? So because you can't see it, and because it's sort of in the background, in a sense it's more in the foreground by virtue of the fact that you're not actually attending to it in the normal way. And then back to the front. And then turning to this hand. So really glare into the hand and let the other hand just be different. So you're looking at one, but you're actually, there's some awareness behind you that's feeling the other one. Yeah, so like an awareness that's coming out of your back, that's aware of, it can sense where it is. So it's not your vision. It's what we call proprioception. So it's just you just have an awareness of it because you know where your body parts are and turn towards the other hand. So here you're looking at the hand. So you're very much conscious of the hand as an object that can be seen and can be controlled by a mind that is actually using what it sees. Whereas the other hand, you can't see it, and so you're not quite sure about it. You know it's there, obviously, but it could be up to all sorts of mischief, and you're not quite sure. Yeah? And then back to the front, and then turning into this one, feeling this hand, and just allowing the other one sort of free rein. And then back to the front. And one more here, so turning into this foot. Feel the other hand changing, becoming freer, becoming more sensual. It's a bit like, when you turn the lights off to make love. It's like somehow the darkness, not being able to see, all the other senses become more heightened. The sense of smell, sense of touch, the taste, yeah. So it's almost like you can taste that hand and then round to the front. And now you're symmetrical, so they're balanced sort of. And now just slip around the other side and feel the hand you're looking at almost shrinking into some sort of conformity. Whilst the other hand, something about it sort of blossoms. Yeah. Well, because it's not being constrained by a neurotic vision. And then back to the front. Okay, now what we want to do now is just see how do we actually turn. Yeah? So how do I turn towards something without actually frightening it with that glaring consciousness. Yeah? So it's like cats, and cats sort of just sneak up on you. Yeah? They're not as boisterous and intense as dogs. Dogs will just, exactly what they want. They want contact. Whereas cats they'll just sort of sidle up. They're not quite sure what they want, and then they'll turn. And so they're more subtle. So that's the sort of thing that we want here. So first, let's just turn towards the hand. So we've turned towards one hand. So the other hand is soft and open. So it's got all of these sensual sort of feminine qualities. Whereas the hand, as I'm looking at, tends to have much more of a sort of masculine edge. It's hard edged, so I can see it. Everything's well defined. Now, just drop that hand down, the one you're looking at, and just feel the one behind you. Now, how do I turn so that I don't turn this hand, the one behind me, into a masculine hand? Okay. So what I do, I have to yield. So what I do, I roll. So it's like there's a point here. So if you just press that point, it's like you roll around. It's like you're rolling a carpet up. You're rolling yourself into here. So this is basically ward off. So ward off is just the hand in front of you, but softly, not with that glaring consciousness. Yeah. So it's like the hand is there, but the last thing you want to look at is the hand. It's almost like you're trying to not to look at it, because you don't want to break that magic that it had when you couldn't see it. Yeah. Okay, so let's try again, and now we'll go the other way. So from here, so now just turn into the other hand. So now you're really glaring at that hand. Everything's under control, it's rigid, and the other hand is somehow in the background, but it has a sort of soft immediacy that this lacks because it's too well defined. And now drop the one that you're looking at and just feel the other one, and just feel this point here in the shoulder. Yeah? And you want this point here to soften. So it softens and I roll around it. I let my body roll. My arm comes into ward off. And here I am with my gaze sort of in this direction, but not. Yeah? So I'm not really looking out, I'm more looking in. And it's as though this hand in front of me still belongs to my back. It's still got the same energy that it had when I was actually looking in the opposite direction, because I've turned softly, like yielding. So this is ward off. And then back to the front. Okay, so let's try it again. Now let's just turn into this one. You're looking at the hand, and let the other one just open up behind you. Yeah. So you can see the more you focus with your eyes on one hand, as long as you can remain flexible, the other hand will open up even more. Yeah. So I want the intensity that I'm looking at my left hand not to fight against the darkness, that dark openness of the other hand. Yeah. So again, I'm allowing both realities to really flourish. And then just drop the hand you're looking at. And then feel the shoulder here, this inside shoulder, and just roll around. Yeah? So you just push in here, and it rolls like you're pushing, like you're rolling up a roly-poly or a Swiss roll or a carpet. And so you could actually continue rolling like this. Yeah? This is the feeling. And you just end up hugging yourself. Okay, now again the other one. So now looking into this hand. So this is firm, solid, well-defined, well-behaved. This is all the opposite, the other hand. So what I have to do is stop wanting just the one. I have to be prepared to allow both realities to exist within myself. And then just soften the shoulder and just relax that. So again, it's the shoulder and the hip, the same place really. So you just roll into this point and the arm naturally bends. So you manage to get round with your eyes ostensibly looking forwards, but without having activated that harsh consciousness, that hard, willful mind. So you are allowing softness and energy place within your reality. Right. So let's go back to this one that we were doing a little bit at the beginning. Yeah. So this sort of sunk and relaxed reality is very much of the body. Yeah, so it's my body that's heavy. It's my mass that's heavy. So it's my mass that sinks. My mass is attracted by the mass of the ground. And that's very much of our normal consciousness. So we're normally conscious of things that have matter. We're not normally conscious of things that only have spirit or only have energy. So we need to be very well trained to be conscious of those. So this reality that we're working with now, which is this heavy gravitational reality, is very much of my consciousness. Now, when I'm pulling with the foot and I'm doing this is very much of the spirit. It's very light. And it's very much of energy and the back hand, if you like, the hand that was behind me. And so what you want when you're working like this is this sense that physically you're almost shrinking. You're shrinking to nothing. But your energy is actually emanating from your back. And so it's like there's a large creature behind you when you're working like this. It's basically, let's say, I remember once when I was a kid, I went camping with a friend. And walking back to the campsite in the dark, in the Lake District, where you literally couldn't see anything because there's no street lights or anything. It was really quite scary. And the fear actually changed one's energy. Yeah? And so instead of just walking along and chatting like this, which is what we would normally have done if it was daylight, we were just quiet and almost tiptoeing along the path, because you were never sure what was going to, we were only like 11 years old. So we're never sure what was going to leap out at us. It's like we had to be really quiet. And so there was a sense in which we wanted to be really small. We wanted to make ourselves tiny. But it was also very exciting. And so even though we were frightened, there's like an excitability was roused up. And it was like an experience that I've remembered for the rest of my life. Yeah? And so this is the feeling here when you're pulling with the feet. It's like you're sinking, but not by just letting gravity pull you. You're actually pulling yourself down. You're pulling yourself in. You're shrinking. But your energy is actually going out all over. It's like you're a big insect. Behind you, there's like this big cockroach. You're like Gregor Samsa. So, wow. Yeah. And this is what, if you watch Bruce Lee, like in his movies, he's just so good at this. He can just shrink into nothing, and yet he just fills the room. Yeah? And this is just pure spirit, and so, wow. And that comes from pulling the ground. It doesn't come from sinking in the normal way. It doesn't come from being heavy. It comes from being light. And the reason I have to pull myself down is because if I didn't, I would float off. Yeah? So there's this sense that you're mooring yourself to the ground because you're so light, your spirit just wants to fly. Yeah? So, wow. Okay, so now let's just try to stand here again. And now just get that sense of your body. So your body obviously is a certain shape and a certain size. But now just use the legs and pull yourself down. This is actually very difficult. I've yet to find a student that can do it. Yeah? So it's not just a matter of bending your legs and letting the body sink. You have to actively use these muscles here, the hamstrings, to tighten, to actually pull yourself down. So if you feel these muscles, they should be rigid, these ones at the back. Yeah? And it's actually very difficult because we're not used to feeling them. Yeah? So when they're rigid and when they're not, it almost seems like, what's the difference? You know? And so those muscles actually pull you down and cause this other body to spring out behind you. So this is what we want to feel. Now, when you pull the ground up, which actually pulls you down, it's as though there's something that's come out of your spine and is actually hovering over you. It's what John used to call the guardian. And it's from his Irish days, the guardian angel. There's this sense of that. Anne McElraith used to tell me that when she was a kid and she'd go to school, her mother would, make sure her coat looked okay and brush her hair. And as she was leaving, her mother would address her guardian angel by looking over her shoulder and speaking, saying, "Look after my daughter." Yeah? And that was like a little prayer that her mother used to say each morning as she was saying goodbye to her daughter. So her daughter was going with this admonition to her guardian angel to take care of her. Yeah. So very beautifully primitive. And imagine in the old days where your child going off to school, it may be the last time you ever see them because life was much more dangerous there. So you needed these little techniques just to assuage your own anxieties and nothing more. Yeah. So my pulling myself down is also pulling me in and expanding my energy out behind me. So you're like an angel. It's like you've got these wings that come out of the shoulders here. You've got wings that come out here. You've got a big tail that goes down behind you. You've got a mane that comes over the top of your head. Yeah. So you've got all these energetic structures that John worked on for 10 years before he died. Yeah. So this is the other side to the coin, if you like. The side that one doesn't normally address because our culture is so safe. Yeah? So let's say you were living in a much more dangerous time, then this would be the normal reality. Is that the sinking and relaxing and all of this would actually be the luxury. Yeah? So this would be absolutely necessary because if you didn't have this, you'd be dead. Because most people who don't have this are basically half asleep. Yeah? And the slightest attack or provocation from the outside world, and that would be it. Yeah, so this you're on your guard, you're vigilant, but it's not your senses that are vigilant, it's your energy, it's your spirit. Okay, now let's just turn the waist, just to relax it. And again, just try and stay in the middle. That's it. So the same thing, this is why turning is so potent and important. So, because as soon as you turn, you separate those two realities out. Yeah? So you have the physical that is just flying out, and then you have the energetic that's just shrinking in. So there's part of you that's getting really big and expansive, which is most obvious in your arms. And there's part of you that's getting really quite small and compact, which is felt in around your spine and in your belly in particular. So we just want to just enjoy those two realities, playing with each other, existing side by side. And what your mind is doing all the time is just scanning the situation and making sure it's balanced, making sure that one of them isn't getting too strong. Because you can see it, if one of them becomes too strong, it will actually diminish the other one, and then you just got a disaster then. Right, and now let's just stand here, then just bounce a little bit. Okay.